You know, one of the subjects of the humanities is politics, political science. And within that study of politics and political science, we tend to think very highly of democracy, and therefore by extension Greek philosophy, which discovered or which touted democracy to begin with. If we look at the founding father of Greek philosophy, Socrates, and we examine Plato's dialogues, we find out that Socrates is rather disenfranchised and suspicious of democracy. For example, in Book 6 of the Republic by Plato, Socrates asked this question: if you were going on a journey by sea, who would you have captain the ship? Would you have somebody who was skilled in seafaring? Would you have somebody who was skilled in navigation and geography? Obviously, you would answer in the affirmative. Now, supposing you were going on a sea journey and you decided to give just any Tom, Dick, and Harry the helm of the ship, a man who was not skilled in seafaring, a man who was not skilled in navigation, a man who was not skilled in geography, that would be suicide. Because how could you think that person who was not skilled in seafaring, navigation, and geography would be fit to helm the ship with passengers in it on a sea journey? That would be ludicrous. And yet, why do we think that just anybody can lead a country? Now, that's exactly what is happening with our country. Voting, therefore, if we examine this, is not a birthright like is considered here. Rather, it is a skill. Therefore, you have to have certain knowledge, certain wisdom, in order to make the right choice for candidate to lead a country. But we don't have that here, unfortunately. I mean, this is not only the case in this country. It is true also for other democracies around the world. As we said, it's a skill, voting. It is not simply a random feeling. But by virtue of the fact that it is a skill, shouldn't it not be taught? I'm suggesting that it should be taught as part of the subjects contained within the political science of the humanities. Putting responsibility in the hands of those who are not prepared to accept that responsibility, or who are uneducated concerning their responsibility, is like allowing the uneducated, unskilled person to take the helm of that ship we were talking about earlier. And therefore we would be doomed, because if you allow a person who's unskilled, uneducated, to take the helm of a ship, you are bound to hit the rocks, maybe sink and drown. The same goes for a country. If you allow an unskilled, uneducated person to take the helm of a country, that person will drive the country to ruin. My feeling and my humble opinion is that I think this is exactly what is happening in Malaysia. What we have created is not parliamentary democracy. What we have created, in my opinion, is more akin to a demagoguery. And that's exactly what it is. Let me explain. If you had two candidates vying to be leader of a country, one of them was like a doctor, the other one was like a sweet shop merchant. This is one of the examples that Socrates gives in Plato's dialogues. Now, the sweet shop merchant will turn to the doctor and he'll say, look at this man, he gives you all kinds of pain and suffering. He'll make you take all kinds of medication. He'll make you take all kinds of bitter pills and bitter potions. He won't allow you to have salt. He won't allow you to eat sugar. He won't allow you to eat things which you enjoy. Me, on the other hand, said the sweet shop owner, I can give you a feast every day. You can eat whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Just enjoy yourself, enjoy life. Now, how do you think the doctor should answer, should respond? If he were to respond truthfully and say that all of what he is doing is because he is concerned about you, it's for your own good, people will laugh at him, kick him out, and they'll vote for the sweet shop owner, because the sweet shop owner is the one that's promising all kinds of goodies. Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like the road that we've been on for the past 40 or 50 years? Maybe even longer? Doesn't that sound like that? That we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, we're going to give you all kinds of things. A dream wish list. This is what we typically have every 5 years when we come out with a new plan. It's a wish list of dreams. And yet, we are not concerned with how to achieve those dreams. Why do I bring this up now about democracy, about the humanities? Because the democracy, as I said, is one of the sciences in political science, in the humanities, in the study of the humanities. But because this democracy is not a birthright, but rather it's a skill, it needs to be taught. If there is no curriculum, we need to develop a curriculum. We need to develop a curriculum that includes ethics, it includes justice, it includes morality. These are some of the things, at least the three important things that I see, that we need to study and we need to be conversant with and also familiar with if we are thinking of going into the political realm. Because we need to have the knowledge of justice, the knowledge of right and wrong, proper place in that system of politics that we call parliamentary democracy. We need to have a firm grasp of ethics so that we don't commit injustices, so that we don't commit things which are not only illegal but also abhorrent and exploitative in nature. And we need to also have an understanding and a practice of morality so that we know the difference between what is right, what is wrong. We know how to speak the truth. We know how to make promises that we can keep. We know how to be given a trust that we can hold on to. We know how not to lie when we are talking. We know all these things because we are familiar with ethics, morality, justice. These are some of the things that we need to study. But why is it important? Because, as we said, Malaysia is a parliamentary democracy, and because of that, we need to be familiar with what this democracy is and why it's a skill rather than a birthright. And when we have found that to be true, then we need to start thinking about how to develop a curriculum for the universities so that we can teach it as a skill set, so that future generations of leaders who come after these will be much better than the ones prior. We will then discover that we can actually advance. We can actually move forward and not be in a position that we are in today. We have to understand that democracy is only as effective as the education system that surrounds it. That's very important. So if we have a very poor education system, which we do, then by extension our democracy also will suffer, and our democracy will become a demagoguery, which is what we have. Only those who have skill in oratory prowess, those who are very quick-witted, those who are sharp-tongued rather than sharp intellect, these are the ones that we seem to typically elect as our leaders. We should stop doing this. Malaysia needs to heal. We are now in such a situation, especially with the condition of the world today, that we need to start healing. And the only way we can start healing is we need to put leaders who are more inclined to heal the country rather than divide it. What we see today is that we have leaders who are continually trying to divide this nation, to divide these people, to cause difficulties and problems. It is the wealthy amongst those who are practicing democracy, or at least who say they're practicing democracy. It's really a demagoguery. It is the wealthy, the smooth-talking individuals, as I said, whose tongues are sharper and keener than their intellect. These are the ones that we seem to elevate to leadership status. And once those people are elevated to leadership status, then we grovel and scrape and placate them as if they are much worthier than we are. And yet we are the ones who put them there. Look at ourselves, look inwardly. We need to heal this country. We need to heal, not divide. We don't need the rulers to sit there and be on the fence. We need rulers who can firmly dispense with justice correctly. We need them to firmly dispense with ethical practice and morality. We need this. We don't need leaders, we don't need rulers who don't understand these things at all, or who think that they're going to remain aloof and apart from any political arena. I think that's also a mistake. If there is problems, then the rulers need to respond in the appropriate manner. This is one thing and one message that I have today, is simply to say that our democracy is only as effective as the education system surrounding it. If our education system is flawed, deeply flawed, or even broken, like I've claimed before, the same will happen to our democracy, and it has happened to our democracy. Look at what we have today. These leaders we have today, are they really democratically elected? And when I say democratically elected, I mean elected responsibly after having some kind of knowledge and wisdom about what are the issues and why we should appoint them. I don't think we've done that, because like a lot of other countries who say they are democracies, they give it as a blanket right, a birthright for everybody to vote, regardless of your intellectual capacity. And therefore, the farmer has the same right to vote as the professor. Maybe the farmer doesn't understand as much as the professor does. Or maybe the farmer doesn't really understand what are the issues that will plague him, like the professor would. And yet they are given the same responsibility. And I think that is unjust on the part of the one who is accepting this responsibility and the one who's given the responsibility. Therefore, we need to start healing. How to heal? Fix the education system. Fix our leadership problems in this country. I think without doing so, we are just going to keep sliding down this slide to the depths of destruction. I mean, I know it sounds very melodramatic, and perhaps it is a bit melodramatic, but we are very concerned. Like I said in one of my previous videos, I'm not about to wait until I'm an old man or until I'm dead in order for any kind of change for the better to happen to this country, to this beloved country of mine. And yet, this is exactly what's happening. We are allowing the unqualified, we are allowing the unscrupulous, we are allowing the unjust to take the leadership helm when they have no right to do so. Why they have no right? Because they are not responsible for what they do. You can see it already. When the Malaysian people appoint any kind of politician to a position of power, that person becomes extremely arrogant. And he feels entitled. He or she feels entitled. This feeling of entitlement is very bad. What you are entitled to is you are entitled to praise on the one hand, but you are also entitled to criticism. But unfortunately, these are the kind of people who cannot take criticism. Even if it is a constructive criticism, they reject. What more if it's just a criticism out of frustration? Even more they reject. Not only that, they will try to prevent that person from further criticizing the government, using all the legal means at their disposal. Find some very smart, very quick-witted and sharp-tongued lawyer whose sharp tongue and quick wit are duller, or whose tongue whose tongue and quick wit is much sharper and keener than his intellect. These are the people who will argue on their behalf. I mean, Malaysia's education system is broken. That's one. By extension, therefore, the leadership also is fractured. That's two. But then, by extension of that, also the judiciary is also affected. The judiciary is also negatively affected. Just open your eyes and look. See around us. See the events that are happening around us. Learn. Study. Know the issues of the day. Know what is important, what isn't. Know what is good for you, what is bad for you. We must heal. We cannot go on like this. We are now in such a divisive state that it will be difficult to try to point out where the error lies. But we have done so. We have tried to, many times. We have continually said the education system is fractured, is broken, and yet no one is listening. Well, when I say no one, I mean no one in authority, in political power. They just keep silent because they pretend and they think that there's nothing wrong, because they feel entitled to do nothing. How can we tolerate this? When we are given the right to vote, when we are given that responsibility to vote, we should not vote according to what we feel, what our political allegiance is. We should not do that. This is another problem with having a system where we have several different political parties. And it is these political parties themselves who decide which candidate is going to run for which election. Therefore, it remains isolated and insulated to that political party and their leadership. But what if their leadership is also in error? What if that leadership also is not correct? What will happen is that they will pick candidates who are not suitable, which is exactly what has happened. We have no choice. We are not given a choice. We are not given more of a choice. If any independent person wants to stand for election, the chances of him getting elected is very slim, because these other political parties with their what they call war chest machinery, they will completely obliterate that candidate. It's very wrong. These political parties need to understand what their responsibilities are. In Malaysia, we have three big political parties: UMNO, PAS, and MCA, or DAP. And yet, they themselves don't realize what their duties and responsibilities are. They are continually appointing the same people. We see the same faces. We see the same people year in, year out, election after election. They're not any different. They might have jumped ship to another political party and changed allegiances, but it's still the same person. The political ideology is still the same. Get rid of that. We need to change that. And what do people like us, the citizens of this country who actually have all the power, what do we do? How do we do anything? We have to wait for an election. Where are our rulers? We appeal to them. Please do something to help us, to help the citizens of this country, to help the people who know and understand where the problem lies. What are the issues of the day? What is important, what isn't important? Please. Therefore, I appeal to you all. When it comes down to it, democracy is only as effective as our education system. If you see that there's something wrong with the education system and there's something needed to be fixed, you need to think also that the democracy is also at fault. We also have a problem with democracy. We need to fix that as well. Thank you.